A fact of life is that you're gonna have to spend some money, and what you spend it on really matters. This is especially true if you're just starting to make money or you've recently gotten a raise and you now have more disposable income. So if you are going to spend money, there are 10 things that I think you should buy before anything else. So I want you guys to think of these as prerequisites or items that are going to give you the best return on your investment. Starting with number one, a good chef's knife and a pan. So if you don't have a kitchen set up just yet, or if you're someone like me who's been eating out most of their life, this is one of the single best purchases that you can make right now. You don't have to go out and buy a 6-piece knife set or an 8-piece cookware set, but you definitely want to have at least one good chef's knife and one good nonstick pan, and that's pretty much it. The average American spends about $350 a month eating out, and that comes out to roughly $4,200 a year on restaurant meals alone. I know for me personally, I was spending close to $600 or $700 a month, if not more, in San Francisco. Now, before I had a good chef's knife and a good pan, what I would do is I would mostly go to local takeout spots in my area, and I would mostly get chicken over rice because I'm a creature of habit, and it turns out I just really enjoy chicken and rice. But I was thinking to myself, do I really need to spend $18.16 every time I get chicken over rice? That's the price of it in San Francisco. Absolutely not, especially when you consider you can buy the equivalent amount of chicken and rice at the grocery store for about $4 to $5 in ingredients. So if you can find a solid chef's knife, something like the Victorinox Fibrox or the Mercer Renaissance for around $50 to $100, I think that's probably a high ROI purchase. My personal one is this Japanese one that I bought from Williams and Sonoma. I don't really know the brand, but you can buy any one of these from a local cookware store. In terms of pans, I personally use an all-in-one nonstick pan from this brand called Our Place, but you don't have to use that. You can find any nonstick pan that runs you about $30 to $50 or maybe even up to $100, and that is gonna be good. So let me show you the math here. If you can save $15 per meal by eating at home and cooking yourself instead of eating at a restaurant, and you do that, say, 3 to 4 times per week, that means you're saving between $45 and $60 a week. It doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of a single year, that means you're gonna save between $2,300 to $3,100. And all of that was from an investment of about $150 to $200 for a good chef's knife and a pan. Now, if you don't know what to cook in a single pan, you can always look up the keyword one pan meals, and there are so many websites dedicated to making you solid dinner recipes with just literally one knife and one pan and some ingredients. It's something that I've tried to get better at this year, and if you're also trying to get better at cooking, please let me know in the comments. The second item that I think you should get immediately if you're starting to spend more money is simply a cashback credit card. Now, technically, you're not buying anything here, and that's the point. This is just a prerequisite, but if you are going to be spending money on any of the things that we're talking about in today's video, you want to make sure you get rewarded for it. A lot of people, especially younger people, are still using a debit card for everything, and debit cards are really nice because you can't get into debt with a debit card. That's because they only allow you to spend the money that you have in your bank account, so I think that's definitely a pro of having a debit card. However, every time you buy an item with a debit card, you are going to be leaving some money on the table. A basic cashback credit card, something like the Citi Double Cash or the Wells Fargo Active Cash or the Chase Freedom, they can get you anywhere from 1.5 to 2% cash back on everything that you buy. The one caveat here is that since they are credit cards, you need to be financially responsible. Since a credit card allows you to spend more money than what you actually have in your bank account, you really need to make sure that if you are putting any spend on a credit card, you can pay it off in full at the end of every month. Now, if you are able to stay responsible here, then you can get rewarded with the 2% cash back on all of your spend. The average American household will spend about $6,400 a month or $77,000 per year. So if you're getting 2% cash back on that, that's an extra $1,540 per year coming straight back into your wallet. And this is just the basic tier of credit cards. There are also fancier credit cards that get you much higher percentages back. So me personally, I have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, and this year alone, I've earned over 89,000 points. And while this isn't exactly cash back, the conversion works out to roughly being 100 points is the equivalent of about 1 to 2 cents. So when you actually look at how much in equivalent dollars I've received from just spending as I normally do, I've probably earned anywhere between $897 to $1,800 in value in credit card rewards points. And those are rewards that I would not have gotten otherwise if I was using a debit card. Now, premium cards like this one, you need to know the details of the card really intimately because they usually have annual fees and points multipliers. If you don't want to do that, you just want to keep it simple, I would just say grab a straightforward 2% cashback credit card, and I think that'll go a long way. Now, if you're someone that doesn't think they can be financially responsible with a credit card, then maybe you just stick to the debit card option. But if you're watching this video, I assume you're a little bit more financially savvy and responsible than some others. And so this is an item that I think can definitely help your financial life as long as you use it within reason. Moving on to number 3 today, which is contributing to your Roth IRA every single year. Okay, so this isn't a purchase that you can hold in your hands, but I wholeheartedly believe that if you're in your 20s, 30s, or even your 40s and you haven't opened up a Roth IRA yet, that this should come before any other purchase that you make. A Roth IRA is an individual retirement account that lets you invest money that you've already paid taxes on, and then that money subsequently grows tax-free. That means when you pull that money out in retirement, you don't owe a single dollar in taxes on those gains, and that's a really big deal when you think about the compounding effect of your money invested in stocks or the market over the next 30 to 40 years. If you're in your 20s and you're able to max out your Roth IRA at $7,500 per year and you invest those contributions consistently in a low-cost index fund, well, by the time you retire at the age of 65, you would have roughly $1.94 million, and that would all be tax-free. If you're wondering where I got that 8% average annual return is from, that's basically from the average return of the S&P 500 after accounting for inflation. And the S&P 500 is just an index that tracks the top 500 US companies. The other thing that's great about the Roth IRA is that you can always withdraw your contributions. Now, not the gains, but the money that you originally put in. You can do that at any time penalty-free, and that means your money is not completely locked up. And I think this makes it a little bit more comfortable and more flexible for a lot of people contributing to it. I personally opened up my Roth IRA when I was the age of 26, but I really wish I started when I was 21 because I did the math, and just that 5-year difference alone could have amounted to over $70,000 in tax-free growth at my current age. So if you don't have one of these yet, I would just definitely open up one of these this week. You can go to any brokerage like Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard, and it takes about 15 minutes. After starting my Roth IRA, I realized that I wanted to put as much money that I could into it, so that meant that I needed to start actually tracking and paying more attention to what I was spending my money on, especially when it came to recurring costs. I was actually shocked to find out how many random subscriptions I was still paying for, like a $10 subscription to a weather app or a $5 per week subscription to track my flights. None of these costs feel too big on their own, but over time it really adds up fast, and then suddenly I'm spending way more money than I thought on services that I don't even use. And that's where today's sponsor Rocket Money comes in. So Rocket Money is an all-in-one personal finance app that helps you lower your bills, cancel subscriptions, and actually understand where your money is going. Once you connect your bank account, Rocket Money puts all of your subscriptions in one place so you can see what's active instead of digging through statements and discovering things that you definitely don't remember signing up for. From there, it's really easy to cancel the ones you aren't using with just a few taps, and what I found is that Rocket Money also gives me a much clearer picture of where my money is actually going. Like for example, I was spending way too much money on sushi and I didn't realize how much I was spending until I broke it down. So while it was very delicious, it was a little bit embarrassing because of how out of control I let it get. So I like to use Rocket Money these days just to keep tabs on everything so I don't end up in a situation like that again. If you want to try it for yourself, just go to rocketmoney.com/Humphrey to get started for free. You can also scan the QR code or click the link in my description. You can also unlock even more features with premium, so that's rocketmoney.com/Humphrey to get started for free, and thanks to them for sponsoring this portion of the video. Number 4 on our list today goes into the automobile world, and that is going to be a reliable used car. A lot of people, when they start to earn more money or they get that first real job out of college, their instinct is just to go ahead and buy a brand new nice car. But these days, the average new car sells for around $50,000 MSRP, and the new average car payment in 2026 is $750 a month. Meanwhile, a 3 to 5 year old used car, something like a Toyota Camry, a Honda Civic, or a Mazda 3, you can find those between $18K and $22K basically all day. These are the cars that have already taken the biggest depreciation hits, which happens in the first 2 to 3 years of ownership, but they still have a ton of life in them. The brands that I just mentioned are usually pretty reliable, and if they're well maintained, they can last you up to 150,000 or even up to 200,000 miles and upwards. And let me show you the math on how this actually works. Let's say you buy a 3-year-old Toyota Camry for $20,000 instead of financing a brand new one, which costs you $35,000 over 72 months at a 7% interest rate. On the new car, you would be paying about $597 a month for 6 years, and by the end of the loan, you've paid roughly $7,960 in interest. That means in those total 6 years, you actually paid close to $43,000 for that new Toyota Camry. With a used car though, at a $20,000 price point, even if you don't have the cash on hand, if you finance it, you're still financing a lot less of an initial amount, and it will end up saving you a lot of money and interest. Using the same exact terms of the new Toyota Camry, your payment is $341 a month, and yes, you will still pay interest, but it comes out to $4,551 in interest, which is about 3.4K less than the new scenario. The other thing people don't think about is insurance. So insurance on a brand new car is significantly more expensive than on a used one, so we're talking potentially up to $100 to $200 more per month, depending on what car and your location. So that adds up to a lot of money. money. That could be $1,200 to $2,400 extra per year that you're spending just because you wanted the newer model. When it comes to buying a used car, you want to make sure you do your research and look for cars that are known for reliability and low maintenance costs. The point isn't just to buy a beater car off Craigslist. It's to buy something that can take you from point A to point B without draining your bank account every single month. Number 5 is going to be a good mattress. Now, this one really changed my life in particular because we spend so much time sleeping. One of the craziest statistics is that if you live to the age of 80 years old, you've actually spent about 25 years of your life sleeping. And that's kind of messed up because if you think about it, if you're 80 years old, you would think that you have actually experienced 80 years of life, when in reality, you've experienced about 55. And I don't really think you can count ages 0 to about 8, so maybe you've even experienced a little bit less, like 47 years. But either way, the point remains, if you're going to spend that many years of your life sleeping, you want to make sure that the thing that you're sleeping on is the best that it can be. When I was in my 20s, I definitely had the cheapest mattress I could afford syndrome. I would buy these mattresses off Amazon or different websites, and when they arrived, I would sleep on them. The sleep wasn't great, my back would hurt the next morning, or I just wouldn't sleep well, and I was just tired all the time. So this is an actual email that I sent to a company in 2014 where I bought one of their mattresses sight unseen, and I actually had to return it because it gave me back pain. The messed up part about returning a mattress is that sometimes they can't actually return it because they're not going to take it back and sell it to somebody else because you've used it already. So what the mattress company does instead is they just send someone to pick it up, either to take it to the dump or for a donation. It just felt like such a waste to me, and so for my next mattress purchase, I just did the responsible thing. I went to the store, I tested it out, and then I bought a really nice one. And the thing about poor sleep is that you don't really know what poor sleep feels like until you have good sleep. So it's the first thing that I noticed once I bought a nicer mattress, was that I just slept really well. This in turn gives me more energy, my body feels a lot better, and I think I have more creativity throughout the day. What I've also noticed is that a lot of people won't think twice about buying the new iPhone for, let's say, $1,200, but instead will think twice about spending a similar amount on a good mattress. So if you are going to spend money, I would say buy a nice mattress. You don't have to get the most expensive one in the store, but just get something that actually supports your body, and I think you will notice that difference immediately. The 6th item that I would look at buying first is definitely having a great desk setup, especially if you work from home or spend any amount of time on the computer. One of the biggest unlocks for me personally was simply buying an external monitor or having 2 monitors. I feel like not only do I get more work done, I also get more screen real estate, and I'm a lot more productive with the extra monitors. If you're able to be just 5 to 10% more productive at work, think about what that means for your career and your earnings over a long period of time. You're gonna get more work done and you're producing better work, and then you're not gonna end every single day with neck pain and a headache by hunching over and looking at a 13-inch laptop screen for 8 hours. The other thing that you can buy is a standing desk as well as a nice desk chair. Cleveland Clinic has noted that standing desks improve energy and mood levels, increase your productivity, reduce rates of obesity, they increase your circulation and posture, and they also help you reduce lower back pain. Then I think having a nice desk chair is always great because just like the mattress, if you're gonna spend 6 to 8 hours a day doing something, you might as well have the best ergonomic setup for your body. It's really hard to put an exact dollar amount on this, but I think that the people who invest in their desk setup, they're gonna tend to out-earn those people who don't over a long period of time. Number 7 today is investing in your own education or your own skills. Now, I don't necessarily mean back to school or getting an extra degree, but I think if you're deliberately spending money to make yourself more valuable, I think that's always a good decision. Gaining more skills in education is always going to be an asymmetric upside investment. And so what I mean by that is, like, sure, a knife and pan that might save you a few $1,000s per year, and a reliable used car that might save you tens of thousands of dollars. But in both of these instances, the savings are capped. Now, if you increase your skills via education, then I think you can actually change the income trajectory of the rest of your life. And I think that has way more upside than the amount that you can probably save from the first 2 respective purchases. So let me give you an example. Let's say you make $55K a year at your job right now, and you decide to spend $500 on a Google certificate course in data analytics, project management, or AI. These are courses that usually take a few months to finish and are widely recognized by a number of employers. But if that certificate helps you land a role that pays you $65K a year or $75K a year, you just basically earned a 20x return on that $500 certificate. Not to mention, that is now your base salary. So if your base salary is then $65K a year, then you can go to the next company in maybe a year or 2, and that will just compound your income even more. And sometimes these courses, they don't even cost money either. I was able to find this Google Data Analytics professional certificate for free on Coursera. The point I'm trying to drive home is that even after you leave school, that's not when you just stop learning things, because I think that if you can be more curious about the world and you stay open-minded to new technologies, you are going to be ahead of others when it comes to adapting and investing in yourself. So maybe that means you set aside $500 a year for your own development and try to improve some skills, like I mentioned earlier, because a lot of people, they're going to spend $500 really quickly on things that they're going to forget about in the next month. So don't do that. If you're going to spend some money and you're spending it on yourself, I always think that's a good decision. That brings me to number 8 today, and I think this is much more specific, but I think everyone should have at least one great personal finance book as one of their first purchases. My 3 favorite personal finance books are probably The Millionaire Next Door, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, and then I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Now, I wish I could say that I have a personal finance book that you could buy. Now, maybe one day I will, but for now, I think these 3 books are just really amazing in terms of what they can teach you about money. According to the National Financial Educators Council, the average American lost over $1,015 in 2024 due to a lack of financial literacy. That could either be from bad debt decisions, unnecessary fees, or missed investment opportunities. Now, part of the reason is that financial literacy is just not taught in schools, so I can definitely understand that. But another reason is that the way you learn about personal finance usually comes from your parents. If your parents aren't financially literate enough, or if they have bad habits around money, you might inherit those unintentionally and they could cost you in the long run. So a great way to combat this is to simply watch personal finance videos like this one here on YouTube, which you're doing right now, so thank you. But it's also to buy a book on personal finance that you can take with you on vacations, on different commutes, or just to have in your house so that you can read it over and over again and you can really instill great values for yourself. A single book like this one could cost $30, but it could help you maybe avoid a financial misstep. And if that's the case, then the book would have already paid for itself. All right, number 9 today is spending money on your health proactively. When you spend money reactively, especially on your health, it's going to cost you way more. Let's say you never put any sun protection on your skin or your face. One day you might get diagnosed with skin cancer, then you have to treat that. And that's going to be way more expensive than if you just try to prevent it in the first place. In addition, the cost of emergency room visits here in the United States, according to a Reddit user, was over $18,000. Now, luckily, this person had great insurance and was able to get a lot of it adjusted, but it just goes to show you that visiting the ER is going to be a lot more expensive than preventative care. Some examples of medical things that I would try to prevent issues going forward are things like getting an annual physical, going to the dentist twice a year, or even just getting a few preventative physical therapy appointments. A physical therapy session might cost you $75 to $150, but they might be able to catch things like a muscle imbalance, or perhaps you use certain muscles in a way that might cause a chronic problem down the line. Another category of your health that you can spend money on proactively is simply mental health. And I think that this is one that people skip a lot because going to therapy is not cool or people don't think that they really need it. But the cost of not managing your mental health can show up in all phases of your life. So in your relationships, in your productivity at work, or even in the decisions about money. And that's basically what this video is about. Let's say you have a problem with losses. You invest in stocks, and whenever you lose money, you start to chase those losses and you try to win them back. In this way, you kind of have a gambler's mentality when it comes to investing. Now, if you don't treat that, that could actually just cost you thousands of dollars or even more money over the rest of your life. So in this way, I think therapy isn't a luxury at this point. If you have that tendency, I think it's a necessity, especially if it's costing you money right now. If you live in America, you need to understand that the American healthcare system is designed to treat you after you are sick or you're hurt. If you want to be proactive about something, you really need to speak up for yourself and really advocate for yourself, or else you're just not going to get that care. All right, the 10th thing in today's video is going to be an excellent pair of everyday shoes. Hopefully you noticed the theme in this video, which is that if you spend a lot of time with your body doing something, you absolutely want to spend some money on it. I know that this sounds simple, buying a good pair of everyday shoes, but a lot of people just don't do it. They might just buy a $40 pair of shoes from some fast fashion brand, or they buy it on Amazon. And to some people, shoes are just shoes, but here's the thing, cheap shoes are going to fall apart. They can also hurt your back, your feet, or your knees, and sooner or later, you're gonna have to just go shopping for a new pair, and then you end up in this fast fashion cycle where you're buying 4 to 6 pairs of cheap shoes every year. So I would say just spend the money on comfortable shoes, something like New Balances, On Footwear, Asics, or just a solid pair of white sneakers that are comfortable. You want the shoe brand to actually invest in their materials, and while a good everyday shoe might run you $100 to $150, at least they will last quite a while. Especially true if you do any manual labor or you're working on your feet. You want to make sure that your feet feel good, because when your feet feel good, your legs feel good. And when your legs feel good, your torso feels good, and then your whole body feels good, and I think that's definitely worth your money. So that's it. Those are the 10 items I would buy first with your money if you're going to spend money in 2026. Of course, I'm sure that you might have have your own list, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you agree or disagree with mine. If you're interested in watching another video from me about the 10 things no longer worth your money, you might want to check this video out right here. Okay, thanks for being here, and thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring a portion of this video. I'll see you guys in a future video from me. All right, peace.